on, various packages and, various state of the art things happening in one of the important packages of data science, which is called Pandas. So we'll be focusing on that package in today's session. What I'm also planning in this session is to have a case study based understanding, case study based understanding of our learnings for today's session. Yeah. So as I said, welcome all of you. So the agenda for today's session is we are going to understand with a case study the importance of, right, Pandas, one of the major Python packages, and its capabilities in data science. So how many of you, let's do one thing, let us introduce each other. So I'm Dr. Ankit, right? Dr. Ankit. I have a PhD from IIT Bombay and filed various patents. And in today's session, I'm going to interact with all of you and try to understand or show you how different packages play important role in data science, right? I have around 15 years of experience, right? Uh, I manage a data science team, and yeah, that is about me. It would be great if all of you could mention in a similar way the introduction about yourself in the chat and add to it what is your expectation from this webinar. So for me, for example, one of the expectation can be to understand uh, packages of data science, for example, required for TS, right? So what is your objective of, or what is the takeaway you want to have from this webinar? All of you, can you mention your introduction in this way quickly? Let us be interactive. This way we can take out more from the time you're spending in this webinar. Okay, you do not know anything about data science, 16 years. Okay. Yeah, you can mention in one line. Okay. Avoid writing multiple messages, just message in one line. So we understand what is your background and what do you want to understand. Okay, learn more about data science, how to use data science for time series data and anomaly detection. Okay. New to data science, want to know about data science. What is data science? What are the packages in data science? Okay. So mostly all of you, if I have to analyze what all I'm getting right now, most of you have mentioned that you are very new to data science domain per se, and you want to understand the packages of Python. Many of you have specifically pointed out that you want to learn this method, time series. Some of you want to use it for some, specific role. That that may be too specific to cover in this webinar. But yeah, the majority of you are having an experience of 10 years, are in technologies different than data science, and your objective from this webinar or expectation from this webinar is to know more about data science, as you are all beginners, plus understand the Python packages or the level of Python coding required to do data science. Perfect. So I hope I'm covering majority of you with this sentence. Yeah, perfect. So I'll exactly do this. So let's keep this agenda 2 points. One is I will explain to you what is data science, right? And with the case study, I will show you how you do data science. But before that, I will also explain you some of the major Python packages that you will have to learn in order to do data science. Okay, perfect. Thank you all for this interaction. Now let's start moving ahead. So first of all, the question all of you are asking is, what is data science, right? You may have heard another word which is called artificial intelligence, right? Now, how is data science related to it? So, artificial intelligence, okay, is generated by using data science. So, as the word itself says, the data science consists of two words, data plus science. So, essentially, as a data scientist, you are expected, you are expected to process data and make business sense out of it. Okay, out of it. Now, when I say that this is your role, that you need to process data and make business sense out of it, that is essentially what is data science. But in order to reach this stage, right, you will require a lot of tools, right? You will require a lot of knowledge. Uh, what do you require? As a data scientist, first, you are required that you should be able to understand a lot about reading data also, a lot about the engineering aspect of retrieving or reading data sources. So say the data sources are coming from a database, coming from social media, coming from say some image, coming from text data. So all kinds of data. How can you read that? How can you retrieve that? All these tools you are expected to understand. So the data can be of three types: text data, image data, and numerical data, right? How many of you are clear with this? That you should have understanding about that. The second major part of data science is once you have read the data, once you have retrieved your data, now what do you do with it? What do you do with your data? Right? The first step is you pre-process your data. What is pre-process your data? That is your data in real world is not very clean. I will be explaining you this with case studies. So as a data scientist, you should know how to make your data more usable, right? Some call it more technically, you make your data rich, right? How? By pre-processing your data, cleaning your data, you make it rich, right? The second part, third part is once you have read your data, you have pre-processed your data. Now, what do you do with your data? You should know how to analyze your data, right? You should know how to feature engineer your data. Yeah. So these two things are the third step. First, you get the data, you understand what are the sources of data. Second is once you have the data in your control in your database, how do you process your data to make it usable, you make it rich. Third is you analyze your data, you feature engineer your data, and say, as a lot of you will be working as data analyst, data analysis, business analyst, a major part of the work is done here, right? For this, you will require knowledge about data visualization, data visualization. So you should have very good ideas about what are the different types of graphs you can create, right? You should have very thorough knowledge about descriptive statistics. What is descriptive statistics? Finding out what is the median, median, right? Different central tendencies of your data. What is your spread of your data? You should know all the test of what you can perform on your data. Third is another thing which you should know is inferential statistics. So a good knowledge about inferential statistics is also required at this step. How many of you are clear till here? Okay, that Data science is what? To do science over your data. People, that is, once you do apply your science over your data, you will create something known as artificial intelligence. So essentially, data science is a subpart of artificial intelligence. Essentially, once you have done this, the fourth major part of your work will be to create machine learning models. Okay. And this is why where the new word comes in, that is machine learning. So this is one of the sub part of data science where you are expected to create machine learning models from your data. Okay. So you're, as a data scientist, you're also expected to know about this step. And lastly, you will gauge the performance of your model, gauge the performance of your model. And if I have to simplify further, the last step, which may not be expected from a data scientist, but he or she should have some understanding of it, that is called deployment of your model. How many of you are crystal clear about these? So in a nutshell, I've given you in 6 steps what all things you have to do as a data scientist. Okay, one of you have mentioned cannot hear me. Others, can you hear me well? Is it making sense? I hope you're liking this whiteboard session. I'm not planning to show you some fancy slides. Let us make it as interactive as possible, right? I want all of you to take as much information or crystal clear information from this webinar. Okay, perfect. Now, parallelly, the second part of what you all wanted to understand, or majority of you wanted to understand, is what is the role of Python here, right? So all of you have understood that, okay, boss, so if you, when we started, when I asked you the objective, you wanted to know more about data science and you wanted to understand about Python and aspects of data science. So now I have covered in a nutshell that these are the 6 things. You may be good in some part, you may be bad in some part, you may be improving in some part, but essentially these are the 6 things a data scientist is expected to understand, right? This is the life cycle of a data scientist. Now, what is the role of Python here? So all these things, first, for example, how do you read your data? How do you retrieve your data? How do you scrape your data, right? So how do you source your data, right? How will you do that? So there is a Python package for it, right? Many of you are from web design part. You may have heard about, say, using Beautiful Soup, right? There are different packages to read your data. How many of you are clear with this? Right? Beautiful Scoop, Scrappy, Selenium. Many of you are working in those technologies which are more related to web designing, right? Okay, Shivani, you're asking, can you explain this point again? So what I'm trying to say is, when you read your data, the data may come from different source, right? The data may be of different type. So suppose your data is in an Excel file, right? Your manager has given, boss, this is your data in which in an Excel file, it has different, text and numerical data inside it. How do you read this package? Suppose your boss says, okay, you take data or scrape data from a website, okay, say a recruiting website, and now how do you retrieve your data from? So there are Python packages which can help you do that. So what I was explaining is, for website reading, you have Python packages like Beautiful Soup, right? You have Scrapy, right? You have Selenium, right? For automation. All of these are different packages in Python, which you will learn, right? Hello, is my voice very clear, all of you? Can you please confirm again? I'm really sorry. Okay, thank you very much. The voice is clear. Very good. Thank you. What do you do with the data? So what I'm saying is, the role of Python is there in each step. But what is happening? The packages you deal with each step may change. How many of you are clear with this? That, okay, throughout my data science journey, I will have to learn about different Python packages in order to do or apply data science. In a nutshell, if I can explain you, you will generally read about these packages. Pandas, which is used for data manipulation. Manipulation, I will explain you later what is data manipulation. Data reading, as I said, plus data visualization, plus data statistical, or say statistical uh, understanding of your data. So if you see here, Pandas is used for various aspects of data science. It can help you in data manipulation. Obviously, the first step is data reading. It will help you in that. It will help you visualize your data. It will help you statistical understanding of your data. So if you see here, Pandas will be involved in the first step while reading your data. Second step while pre-processing or cleaning your data. Third step where you will do data visualization and you will do statistical understanding of your data. What it may not be useful right now is for creating machine learning models, create understanding the performance of your model and deployment of your model. That is not what Pandas will be used for. Second package you will learn more about in Python. So let me give the title, Python packages for data science. Okay. So you will learn about Pandas. Second package is sklearn. This is required for machine learning, creating machine learning models, plus understand performance of your models. So all the performance metrics are present in this package. And there are third more packages which you may use time to time, like NumPy. It is used for data manipulation. And then you have, which you will learn, these are specialized packages, Matplotlib, you have Seaborn, you have Plotly, right? These are different tools for data visualization. Now you may ask me, why are you mentioning all these? Only why are you mentioning all these packages? Because first, they are Python packages. The third is, these all packages are open source. They are free to use. Python packages for data science, which are popular, and it is open source. So if I want all of you to write this, can you all write this? Pandas, sklearn, NumPy, and Matplotlib. These are some of the 4 packages you have to learn in order to apply your knowledge of data science in all these 6 steps. Those who are very clear with this takeaway, please raise your hand. So the 2 takeaways you all wanted was, what is data science? I have explained to you, reading your data and up to deployment of your model so that you can make business sense out of it. All these aspects are covered in data science. The second is, objective or key takeaway for all of you is, during this whole journey, you will use Python as a package, Python as a coding language, and inside Python, you will learn about Pandas, sklearn, NumPy, and Matplotlib. Anyone has any doubts, any question? Perfect. Is it clear to all of you? Yeah, perfect. Okay. Now that you have understood this, it will make more sense to all of you if I give you a demo of it. Now, out of all this, which package you feel is the most important? Which package is something you will essentially you have to learn first? So if you see, the first few steps are data, reading your data, making your pre-processing your data, and doing analysis of your data. So for all this, what is the most popular package? Pandas, right? Okay, many of you are asking, are we required to learn all the tools? No. Some may learn Matplotlib plus Pandas for data visualization. Some may use Seaborn, some may use Plotly. It doesn't matter. What matters is what kind of graphs you make, etc. That is another part of data science, right? But these are the tools you will have to learn. It is not necessary you need to learn all the tools of data visualization. Even one tool is sufficient. Okay. The only thing is Seaborn may be more visually appealing than Matplotlib. Plotly may be more interactive than Seaborn. It may have more interactiveness in features in its plot. So all these are different packages with different capabilities. Otherwise, mostly you can learn one of them. So let us start with a business case study. All of you, can you see my screen now? I have opened a Colab notebook. Okay. So now I'm moving towards a real world example. That is, suppose I ask you, so what is the case study we are going to look at? We are going to look at a recommendation engine for a OTT platform. Okay. Now, when I mention this, what do you understand? All of you, what is your objective here? If I say I'm building a recommendation engine for a OTT platform, what do you understand? Can you all just put it in the chat box? Let me see how many of you understand it. Okay, you want me to zoom my, yeah, perfect. So many of you are mentioning that it is a recommendation engine, for example, which runs on Netflix. I'm just naming them, which runs on Disney Hotstar, for example, right? So I'm just mentioning few of them. So what happens is, all of you, I think you may have gone through this, right? Say, for example, you started with a video on YouTube, right? Say you started with searching on Kishore Kumar songs, but after a time, say 45 minutes, you ended up watching, say, some cricket clips on YouTube. How many of you have gone through this? That you have spent a lot of time, more than the time required or you intended, on a social media platform, and you kept on watching the content one after the other unconsciously, right? Correct? So this is happening with all of you. And how is it happening? How is it happening? Because of the recommendation, right? The recommendation which comes up one after the other. Now it is on autoplay. If you know that on default, autoplay, YouTube will keep on running one after the other next video, and you will never know how much time you will spend. And how will they earn? The more time you spend on their platform, right? The more they earn, right? Earn, right? Is it clear? So why I'm putting this, that recommendation is a very important thing. Now, how I will build a recommendation engine for a OTT platform? So let me be more specific here. I will build a recommendation engine for movies. So suppose you are watching a movie called Mission Impossible, right? As soon as you start this movie or you ended this movie, which is the next movie or which are the movies I should recommend to you? Okay, which are the movies I need to recommend to you? Okay, so for this, what I will have to do, I will have to create a data science model or create a model which will crunch all the movies in the database, right? And it will predict the next movie which you would want to see. So exactly that is what is happening. So what is happening here? All of you, can you see here? This is my Python code. Can you all see? Don't focus on others. Can you see here? Import pandas as PD. So what I'm doing, I'm writing a code on Python that please import pandas. Okay, it will be only imported. It will be only imported. Some of you have asked me to zoom. Let me do that. Yeah. It will be only imported when you have installed it. Okay. So on Google Colab, it comes pre-installed. But if not, then you will have to install these packages. Is it clear to everyone? So what I'm doing, don't worry about the other packages right now. Don't focus on them. Let us concentrate on pandas for today. Okay. So pandas I have imported. You can see there is a tick mark here. So I've already run this code actually. So if you see here, it has 4 seconds before I just kept it ready so that all of you, I don't spend time reading or installing it. So if you see here, I'm using Pandas, which version? 1.5.3. I'm using NumPy. I told you it is used for data manipulation. I'm using sklearn here, 1.2.2. And I'm using another package called Plotly, which I mentioned you for data visualization. Right? So I hope everyone is clear with this. Now, when I explained to you what is data science, what was the first step? All of you, what was the first step? I'm asking all of you, can you put it in the chat? Yeah, the reading of the data. So what data will you read for this case study? Perfect. So I have already uploaded the data set. How many of you can see? It is 1.85 MB of data, and the data name is movies on streaming platforms. How many of you can see? It's a CSV file. Okay. Now, how do I read this in Python? How do I read a CSV file in Python? So in industry, most of you will be crunching data from CSV or XLSX file, right? So I have already uploaded it, right? I have already uploaded it. And now what I'm doing, I'm going to read this. What I'm using, all of you, can you see here? PD dot read underscore CSV. What do you mean by that? That I'm using a pandas function. I'm using a pandas function that is read underscore CSV to read my CSV file. Okay. So once I run this, you can see there is another function. Data is stored in my, so all the data is stored in my variable data. And then I'm using another function of pandas called dot head function. What it does, it prints the first five rows of my data set. So all of you, can you see what data set I have? I have the data set of a movie. Say for example, Inception. I know which year it was released. What was the age rating for this? What was the IMDb rating for it? What was the Rotten Tomatoes, Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video? Is it available on these platforms? What type it is? Who are the directors? What is the genre? What is the country in which it was released or released from? Languages it is available, and what is the runtime? So how many of you are understanding that this is the complete database of the movies, right? And I have read that using pandas. Who provides this file? Nidhi is asking. This file is given by, either you take it from the internet or you create, it is your company's file, for example. It is your client's file. So in real world, it may be your company's sales data, it may be your company's text data, right? So this data comes from your client or you have it from your company. Okay, I hope this is clear to everyone. Yeah, so many of you have asked, in fact Durga Rao has asked, if we have the source data around 1 terabyte, this is very small, can we still use pandas? No. In that case, what will happen? So based on the volume of data, you will have to change your package. So there is PySpark. If you have a huge volume of data, you will have, say, package called PySpark, right? So PySpark is another package which you can use. It is Apache Spark in Python, which you have 1 terabyte of data, you can use that. So depending upon the volume of data, you will use it. Okay. Typically in data science project, you will get data mostly in a format which Pandas can read it. Typically, I'm saying most 90% of your projects. Okay. Now, do you think this data is very clean or this will require some cleaning? So you can see there are some columns, unnamed zero, ID, right? There are some issues. If you see 13 plus, what is this plus here, right? All these are some of the issues which you need to resolve before you can even analyze or create models out of this data. So that is what exactly I'm doing now. So what I'm saying is, please name my first column as temporary. So unnamed zero doesn't seem a good name. So I'm saying, okay, you name it temp, and then I see, okay, this has no value in my data set. It is just a serial number. I want to drop it. So I'm writing data.drop temp data.set index ID. So now after dropping the data, you see now how it looks, that the columns before title have all been dropped. So this is also possible through Pandas. How many of you are getting the feel of what I'm trying to explain here? Yeah. Is it making sense to all of you? So I'm running through your second step now. You have read the data successfully. Now you have started pre-processing or making your data rich. So this is what I am explaining you. Simple things like dropping a column. There is a function for it, data.drop, right? So how do you know which functions to use? That is what you will have to train on. That is what you will learn. So if you go to official documentation of Pandas, so you'll find that these are the general functions, and lot many functions, n number of functions are present in Pandas. But in short, as a thumb rule, I can tell you, anything you want to do related to data, you will find some or the other functions present in Pandas. How many of you are clear with this? That, okay, boss, if you have a data and if you want to sort it, you want to filter something, you want to, manipulate the data, everything is possible through Pandas. Okay. Okay. So now that you have done if data is images, uh, you may not be able to use Pandas, but I will explain you even datas are numbers, right? Okay. Now that you have read your file, right? What you want to do is, whenever you read file, right? Do you think that all the data will be available? So for example, there may be many data or many movies for which you may not know what is the year or which language it was created in, who was the director. Some or the other details may not be present, right? So that is like finding what are the left out files in your data set. So for that, I've created a function which does what? It tries to find out what are the missing values in your data set. So suppose I run this function and suppose I do this. What is it saying? All of you, can you explain me? You can see that out of, okay, let me show you before this. You may ask me what is the size of this data. So what I can do is I can just write one function just to give you a demo. This data frame is called data, right? So after this, if I write data dot shape, okay, this is a pandas function, and it tells me that there are this data consists of how many columns? 15 columns. And how many rows? 16,744 rows. So all of you, Are you able to understand that this database contains 16,744 movies and 15 columns related uh, to its details? So what we want to do now, we want to check how many of them are null. So can you tell me with one line of code, I found out how many null values are there in each of these 15 columns. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? So in this 15, how many null values or missing values are there? Now looking at this, what do you understand? Now I'm coming to the analysis part of it. As a data analyst, once you get this using Pandas, that boss, you whatever data you have given me in that 11,586 uh, rows of rotten tomatoes column is missing. It means what? There is very little information of rotten tomatoes rating. Does it make sense to all of you? Perfect. So now that you have done this, what is the next strategy? The next strategy, this is where you will have to wear the data scientist hat. That, okay, boss, my values are missing. It means there are no values for these many data in my data set. What do I do with it? So what I'm doing, I'm filling all the null values, all the NA values, you see, with the word NA. So I'm denoting it with the word NA. And for directors, wherever there is no director mentioned, I am replacing it with -1 information. So if you see here, I run this and now I run this. And now if I run the same function checking for missing data, you will see that there are no null values here. So all the null values, I have created a strategy to fill with NA or -1. And now you see in my whole data set, there are no null values. Okay. I'm just telling you, I'm just showing you the capabilities of Pandas. So I hope all of you are understanding. One is the data science part of it. That is what is the strategy to fill the null values with. That is a data scientist call. But how to execute it, you will have to learn Pandas for it. Is it clear to everyone? Am I making sense to all of you? Yeah, perfect. Next, now what you want to do? As I said, just to give you a demo, you may want to create some plots. Even pandas, if you see here, we are creating bar charts. We are creating different bar charts using pandas, px.bar. So if you see here, pandas bar plot. Now, as a data scientist, you will have to understand when to use a bar plot. But how does pandas help you? It helps you by giving you a function called plot.bar. So if you use, it has given you some demos also. If you write this function of pandas, you are able to create bar plots of your graph. So this is the data visualization aspect of it. So what I'm doing, I'm plotting the age versus category or age versus category bar chart. So what is it showing? Anyone? What do you infer from this beautiful graph? Very good. So many of you have mentioned that most of the movies have been rated NA. It means there is no information about what category this belongs to. Second is, many of you have mentioned very correctly that if we ignore this no information, the highest movies which have been released in the database are 18 plus or adult movies. How many of you are clear with this? Right? So this is how, what inference you are drawing forward. So ignoring the null part, most of the movies or shows are targeted to adult audience. Right? Similarly for Rotten Tomatoes, if you remember, most of the information about Rotten Tomatoes were not available. So what I have done, I have plotted a bar plot for this also. If you see, okay, can you tell me how these categories have been created? Really good, good, really bad, average, and bad. So what I have done is, if you remember, when we were reading the data, right, Rotten Tomatoes were in percentage. So what I did as a data scientist with my business partners, I took a call that I will define in what percentage what kind of movies are. So for example, if you see what I've written a code here, that those who are in 0 to 40 percentage, they are really bad movies. Those who have been rated 41 to 55, they are bad movies. So I've created some categories, and based on the data I have created, this is the bar graph you're seeing. So what is the understanding from this? That in your database, most of the movies are really good if you ignore the ones where no information is given. Okay. So as per Rotten Tomatoes, we have lot of really good movies to watch. So if you club really good and good both together, then you have higher good movies than average or bad movies, right? Similarly, for our IMD ratings, 0 to 3.5, I've termed it as really bad, 3.6 to 5 as bad, 5.1 to 6.5 as average, and I've created this. So what is the conclusion from here? Same. That, okay, now what do you learn from here? You learn that here NA is least. So most of the movies have been given IMDb ratings and their data is available. And if you see here, most of the movies have been average or good, right? Similarly, if you want to view how many movies are available for really good, so suppose you want to decide which subscription you want to take. You want to take subscription of Netflix, Hulu, Disney, or Prime, right? How will you decide that? All of you, can you help me with that? So I have developed a logic where I'm saying, boss, if I have to invest in only one of these OTT platform, I will just check how many of the really good movies are present in which platform. So what is this showing? It is showing which OTT platform has the highest percentage of really good movies. Anyone? If you see, this is an interactive plotly graph, right? And what do you learn from here? That Amazon Prime has 62.7 percentage of all the movies which are rated as good, right? So Prime movie has the highest really good rated IMDb movies, followed by Netflix and then Disney and Hulu. Okay. So I hope all of you are getting what package I'm using here. If you see px.py, I'm using the plotly function to create this. But whatever manipulation is required, these codes are all written in Pandas data frame. So if you see dot sum, what will dot sum do? It will sum all the really good movies in Netflix category. So this dot sum is a function. And who is giving me this function? Pandas is giving me that function. Those who are clear with this, please let me know. How many of you are finding this useful? So we started with the objective. You wanted to understand what is data science. I'm explaining you a case study. As I'm moving forward, I'm also explaining you the practical part of what cleaning of data is required. What are the issues with data? So if you see in industry, you will never get a very clean data. You will always get this data. I have not gone into the detail, but a lot of work or lot of code was written. If you see here, to remove this plus or to remove this percentage. If you remember, there was a percent in when we were reading the file, there was a percent in Rotten Tomatoes. Now, this percent has no meaning, right? I need to scrub this off. What I have to do, I have to scrub or clean this off. So for that also, if you see, I have not gone into those minor details, but all those cleaning also I had to do. So if you remember, if you see here, this is a package called regular expression. I've used that in order to scrub percentage out of that column. Okay, perfect. Okay, now if we move forward, right, let me come to the conclusion. Again, lot of coding done, right? And then at the end, if you see, after all these amount of coding, cleaning the data, this is the graph I have created. Can anyone tell me what is this showing? Can anyone tell me what is this graph inferring? Perfect. So now I have analyzed the genre, right? I have analyzed the genre. And what did I analyze here? That color is the most important genre. Color, the top 10 are drama, comedy. If you see, most of the movies are in drama category. 7,227 movies are in drama category. Now, to create this kind of interactive graph, you have to do a lot of processing of your data. You have to clean your data, and then you have to generate using a visualization tool, right? So most of the popular data is drama. Okay. Next, I analyze the countries. So if you see here, what is the maximum movies? Which is the country in which maximum movies were released? Can you also tell me what is the relevance of this? So here, what is the relevance of this side heat map? We call it a heat map versus this graph. What do you understand from this? Very good. So many of you have mentioned that the color also can indicate. So suppose I'm hovering around. One is you visualize, right? One is you visualize where it is. So this is around 10,200. I can visualize it. I can see from the interactiveness also. But the other way is, the other way is, if you see here, if you see here, even with color, you can understand that anything beyond 10,000 is yellow. So just for visual reference, we have given this color also, right? Okay. Most of the movies released in English, right? Most of the movies were released in English. Again, if you see here, pandas were used to analyze the counts of. Okay, I know I'm not getting into the details right now. I'm getting more into the analysis part of it. But how many of you are impressed that yes, there is quite a bit of functions required of pandas in order to count or create in one go how many. So you may imagine that out of the data set, out of this movies on platform data set, right? Let me open the Excel file, right? So this is the data set actually which we are analyzing right now on Collab. How many of you are impressed that okay, with one line of code you are able to count? If you see here, There are first you have to process this. Some movies are in multiple languages. So I will have to clean the data by by bifurcating this different languages into different columns. One. Second, once I've done that, I will have to count how many rows has English. How many of you are able to understand the importance of pandas here? Right? It's not very, it is looking simple to all of you because you are just looking at this graph. But to come to this graph, you will have to do a lot of this cleaning. And this is being done by pandas, that is sorting the values. So sort values is a pandas function, right? Creating the base count has been a pandas function. Px.bar is a plotly function, right? So all this is possible only by using Python packages. Okay, perfect. Similarly, now I just wanted to give you all a glimpse. Sometimes you may also want to have an interactive GUI kind of module. So even that is possible in Python. Okay. So just to show you some different flavor of package, right? There are packages which can also help you create GUIs, just as how you create GUIs for your web design or for your softwares. Uh, packages we can also create those in pandas, not in pandas, sorry, using packages in Python. So that is what I was trying to show. So here you could have selected what genre or platform you want to see, and it would have listed what the models are, right? Similarly, we have done a lot of processing on the age part of it. You see, if you remember, most of them were NA, right? Now I have divided them into different parts. How do I deal with them? After doing all those things, I've cleaned my data. Okay, let me show you that final part. Perfect. So if you see here, after deciding or cleaning the data and deciding which data to keep and which data to remove from my data set based on my analysis, what I've decided that I will keep the final data to CSV file, which is movies data encoded.csv. Once you have done it, then you are free to move towards the next part of your data science journey. That is, here you have, if you see your data to CSV. So right now, we started with reading of data. Second is we cleaned our data. If you remember, removing plus, removing, counting the number of NA values, removing percentage, cleaning your data. Third is we created rich data visualization. We did a lot of descriptive analytics in terms of which count was high, which was low, how many data, what not available, what did we do with that. After all this thing, what is the step here? 3A, what you have decided after this, what is the important data you want to keep in your data set, and then you have saved it in a data.csv file. So that is exactly what has happened here. You can see here this data, you have saved it into your CSV file, and you have named that file as movies data encoded.csv. Okay, so perfectly, if you see here, what I intended to show you all pandas, I've been able to show you that till the third step, Pandas was crucial in analyzing a huge amount of data and creating good understanding of your data before we go into the machine learning model. So just to let you know, as I've shown you here, for the fourth step, Pandas is not applicable here on sklearn is required, right? Here, if you see for machine learning models, what package we use? sklearn. So if you see after this, most of the discussion will be on sklearn. Perfect. So with this, I will summarize the learnings you had today. So one, you understood with the case study that how do we read data, how do we enrich the data, how do we visualize data, how do we do analysis of the data, and which packages we use about it, right? So I hope all of you got to learn the two objectives we had set out for this webinar, that is to know more about data science and Python packages. Yeah. Thank you, Ramakrishna. Thank you, Mani Arun. Arun. Any one of you has any query or any questions, please ask me. I'm looking at the chat box. I may try to answer. Yeah. One of you had asked a very good question that if you are using these data visualization tool, then what is the requirement of Tableau and Power BI, right? So Tableau and Power BI are professional, graphing software. They are for production level. So suppose you want to create a dashboard, you can't use this chart for your dashboard, right? The chart which we created in Plotly, for example, right? To publish this chart on a dashboard, right? That is not its capability. This chart is good enough for your analysis, for presenting it to your leaders, etc. But this chart is not something which we can publish online, right? So for that and more enrichment, you have better capabilities with Tableau and Power BI. But yes, instead of the same graph, you will have to create in Tableau. I hope you're getting the idea, right? That the data visualization tools which I have mentioned, Seaborn, Plotly, Pandas, they are for your self-consumption. But if you have to show it to a client or you have to create a Tableau, you have to publish it. The same things which you have done here, you can create using Tableau and Power BI. I'm a technical writer. I'm interested in data analytics. Do I need to learn Python languages? Aparna, I would say yes, because it is recommended. The reason is you have specialized software for doing data analysis. But as you know, today is the world of open source and most of the packages are available on Python. Many companies may not use, GUI based softwares. They may want someone with Python, expertise to analyze data quicker and also with open source packages. So I would say, it would be recommended to learn Python. Perfect. With this, I'll end today's session. I could see a lot of you giving very positive feedback that you have learned a lot from this session. Thank you for your feedback. Keep them coming. Also, do not forget to give your feedback while exiting out of this webinar. Thank you for your time. I'll end the session here. Appreciate your uh, patience and your time towards it. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye. Many of you have asked for recording. I think the coordinators will connect with you. Thank you.